Alrighty, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing a super today. Welcome to our on-call session for the quarter. I am Sam Camarena, manager of the CSU Advancement Academy, which is a very close partner of the CSU Events Professionals Network. On-call is a series of interactive meetings offered by the CSUEPN to provide a space for events professionals to discuss trending topics in the higher education event space with colleagues. Of course, the trending topic for this quarter is exploring event management platforms. Of course, these platforms and software are obviously key to the success of any event and events team, but it's less obvious as to what tools are out there and what a team should keep in mind when shopping for those and acquiring those tools for their use. Today's session will provide some insight on what are the considerations to look at when you're shopping around for these items, as well as cover some of the leading tools out there in the industry. As a housekeeping note, the session is being recorded and will be posted onto the CSUEPN's YouTube channel with the link sent to the listserv once it's ready. Before we begin today's session, I of course want to recognize the on-call planning committee. They're listed here in no particular order, but they are a very mighty team that has brought a lot to the table to prepare this session and some upcoming sessions as well. Speaking of upcoming sessions, the next one for the spring quarter will be on February 9th, and we'll be exploring event risks, safety, and protocols. That's going to be at the usual time of 10:30 to 11:30. Stay tuned for full details and the registration link that's going to be coming shortly. And then if you want to explore when that information will be available and some past resources and content from the CSUEPN, the place to go is the CSUEPN intranet. This is our news site where you'll be able to explore a calendar and of course connect with us on our social medias and join our listserv as well. So you won't want to miss that as well. Returning to our topic of today, we have in store 3 very informative presentations that are going to be followed by a panel Q&A with all of our presenters. You'll have an opportunity to unmute and ask your questions during that Q&A portion at the end of today's session. But in the meantime, you can share your questions for your presenters via a Q&A widget on Mentimeter. The link is going to be added to the chat just momentarily here. Thank you, Adrian. And then you'll be able to submit your questions there live as folks are presenting, and then we'll revisit those during the Q&A portion as well as any that will be shared live. So now we want to jump into our first presentation. I want to shift the focus to my friend Jessica Rowland, Program Specialist at Cal State Fullerton Alumni Relations, to share some of the research that she did into events management platforms for her team and some of the teams that she has, some of the tips that she has rather to share with us on that process. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and invite Jessica to come on. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jessica Rowland, as Sam mentioned, and I am the program specialist here for the Alumni Engagement Office at Cal State Fullerton. I'd like to actually start off, and I know we got asked this during registration, but I would love to know what registration sites everyone is kind of using right now for your events. There's multiple out there, I know. So if you could just go on to the Menti site, here's a new link, not to be confused with the question one that Sam posted earlier. But if you could go on there and start telling us what registration sites. I know we have Attend out there, an Event Farm, Almabase, I got Cvent, Perfect, Humboldt Marching Order, Splash, 25 Live, None. Whoever wrote None, I'm really sorry. I don't know how you do registrations, and I must have a huge team because I can't imagine. So yeah, so as you can see, we're all using some kind of event management platform. I know that we have pros and cons to each of those platforms, but a lot of them, we need these to do our daily jobs, especially with our events and activities taking place. My office is currently working with an extremely outdated version of Event Wizard. It's so old that I cannot put any logic into my registration form. So whether or not you select you're going to have a meal with us, I will still ask you what meal you want, which causes a lot of confusion to my attendees because some think they're getting food, others don't know. And that's just, again, causing confusion. And as event planners, we know that once we capture our attendees' interest in an event or an activity, typically they go to our registration page. If there's any problems that they encounter, they'll most likely stop the registration or won't continue, or they'll email us and adding one more step to our daily task. Over the summer, I was tasked by the office to look into alternative registration platforms that could accommodate the variety of events that and programs that we here produce in our office. More importantly, I wanted a new registration platform that not only had a great guest experience, but was easy for us as a team to use. Like many of you, I work in a very small office. There's 7 of us, and I am the only program specialist for the team. Being sort of a one-man shop, my perfect example. So I have one man shop. I needed to find a registration platform that actually worked for the office, for me, and including the university. As you know, we have a lot of red flags and things that we need to look out for. So we had to find all of that in one platform. So let's start with the basics here. If you can all tell me, what is stuff that you need to have on your registration page? I know we need to collect names. We have personal info like addresses, but what are the basics that you have to have on your registration page? Go ahead and throw them out there. I know a lot of us are going to have the same answers, but it just kind of shows you that we are all kind of doing the same thing here. Email, yes, a valid email. T-shirt sizes, thank you. We've got more coming in, I'm sure. We have phone numbers, names, especially, yes, specific sizing. There's a word for the day. Attrition, affiliations, thank you. We have all of this that we need on our registration form. So now we know the essentials, and most of the registration platforms out there will do these, not a problem. But then I wanted to think, well, what else do I need that's specific to maybe my job or to our events? So I wanted to make a list of things that I wanted. So these are some of the different aspects that I wanted that you've actually just shared with us too. Having a landing page for each event, kind of explaining what that event is, taking it off for my web designers. I would love to have an area where I could create that web page. Calendar integration, so someone could put it into their outlet or Google. We have sponsorships. There's different ports of surveys. So these are all the things that I really wanted on top of just the basics. Many of the new platforms out there, again, really do this. The companies that I researched were Hivebrite, Almabase, and Cvent. Each were unique in its own way, but in the end, they all offered what I wanted. Each of the 3 sites offer the basics. And if many of you work with Razor's Edge or NXT, that's something that my university does. It's our data collection site that we use to kind of keep track of all of our students, alumni, and friends of the university. I'm going to start off with Cvent. Cvent was the most robust of the platforms that I researched. The site is all encompassing. As you can see, they had everything on that wheel you get with your registration to the platform. So you're not able to pick and choose the features. So there were some features on the site that I know I wouldn't use, but I still had to, in a sense, pay for it. This is wonderful, though, if you're going to use all aspects of this site. It's, again, really encompassing, and you could definitely get a lot out of it. Cvent is also the most expensive of the sites that it came around. It's about $15,000 to $16,000 per year. And they do charge around a $5.28 registration fee per registration. Good thing about Cvent is they do a lot of access or high users in a sense, or managers. So you could share this with another department on school or campus with you, maybe share it with athletics or something other that does events like yours to kind of help offset that cost. Almabase is the next site I'd like to talk about. Almabase costs around $4,000 a year, and they charge about a 2.9% transaction fee. The unique thing about Almabase is the events that are free, you do not get charged a transaction fee for that. So it's not per registration, it is per transaction. Their site is laid out, which something I really like. As you can see, each event has its own little area. You can build this completely with the information that you want in there, but in a sense, it does that own web page for this specific event, which I really liked. So this is Almabase. The next site that I researched was Hivebrite. This is a Hivebrite site. Hivebrite is around $6,000 a year for their platform. But the one thing I loved about Hivebrite is you can pick and choose what you want and the features you want. So if you don't need to have your shop on there, if you don't need to have for some reason your events or your communities, those features can be turned off, but turned back on extremely easily as well. So I wanted to just go there. sorry, there it is. Each site, as I mentioned, does the basics, but these 3 sites, from what I researched, also offer all the additional features that are really wanted. You're able to easily customize your event pages and gather the information that you need. Each site offered a step-by-step guide when creating new events. And as someone who has 0 coding experience, this was really important to me. On the back end, you are able to collect all the data that we normally do want. So you can get your live registration numbers right away, see who's going, who's coming, who's going, if they had a change in their registration. So maybe they're bringing a guest, they can add a guest to their registration off their original one, which I think was a very interesting and cool fact. So you're able to, again, get all of this, and a lot of them do integrate with your Razor's Edge platform if you're using that for data, which makes help coding a lot easier. There are many more event registration platforms out there that are capable of doing what we need and more. The things that I look out for when we're researching your own sites is so just keep these things in mind. Pricing. Is your registration per person? Are you charged per person or per transaction? Because that will change. If it's per transaction, you're looking at $5.28 if there's actual fee coming through. But if it's per person, whether it's a free event or not, you're still being charged for that. Can you host multiple events at the same time? So if you're having a homecoming weekend, under one event, can you host 50 other events in that one large one? Does your university accept their payment processor? We work with multiple payment processors, and there are some that your university will not like, does not like for some reason, and you'll have to work around that. Nice thing is all the sites mentioned today do have a way around most of the payment processors, or do work correctly with or directly with them. And lastly, one of the most important things is, can you train someone else on this platform? As much as I know we all love to say we do it all, and we do it all, we do need help. And we're going to have team members, you're going to have managers that come in that you're going to have to show how to build their own event in there. And so you want to make sure that the site is something that you feel comfortable being able to train your team and others on. The other thing is to help with research is go ahead and put in a list together of what your needs are. Write them out. You're going to have 3 lists total. First list should be the basics that you can't live without. Your second list is the list of things that you would love to have within your registration platform. Not necessarily you have to have, but you would love to have. And then your third list is your wish list. Go ahead and put down everything you would, your ideal platform and what you would want in that, and list it out. Use this list when you're talking to your vendors. Ask for everything. That way, when you do have to make some cuts on your needs, you're not taking away from your basics that you have to have. I hope this presentation helped you a little when thinking about your platforms, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. And if folks are wondering, the notes on her research, as long as with some additional research from other on-call committee members, is available on a platform spreadsheet that's posted on the CSUEPN intranet site. Just check out the resources tab. That's a living document, so we invite other members of the CSUEPN to go in there. It's a Google Excel sheet, so you can go in there and add in additional platforms that you've researched and other items to that's worth sharing with the group here. And thanks again, Jessica, for your presentation. At this point, I want to turn over the spotlight to our visiting presenter, Shayna Mcbree, who is someone some of you might know in her role as Senior Series 25 Account Manager. She worked with a few CSU institutions on their 25 Live tool. So she's going to join us right now, and she's going to give us a quick overview of that tool. With that, Shayna, the floor is yours.
All right, well, hello. As Sam mentioned, my name is Shayna. I am an account manager here at CollegeNet, and I work with all of the California schools that license 25 Live. So today I am going to focus on one specific aspect of Series 25. But just as a quick overview, Series 25 is meant to provide a holistic scheduling environment. So in a perfect world, it would house all of the schedulable spaces on your campus and all of your events. So we generally pull courses from your SIS. We can find locations for those courses and all of your events on campus. And then we can run graphical analysis on how well you're using spaces. But for today, I wanted to focus on one specific aspect of 25 Live. So tips and tricks for customizing your 25 Live environment. So this is going to be a speed run through the functionality. Please, if you're using 25 Live now and you have any questions about how to implement anything that I'm showing, feel free to reach out to me. All right, so I am going to start in 25 Live in the event form. This event form allows multiple different types of customization. First, there is a set number of fields that are available to you, and per user group, per type of user, you can determine which of the fields is set to display or which should be suppressed. And then of the ones that are displayed, which ones are required. You can change the name so they match the nomenclature on your campus. For example, if you're not calling it an organization, you're calling it a sponsoring group, you can change those. And then these forms can have what we call form logic. So you can have your set number of fields that are always going to be asked, and then based on various different aspects of the event, you can have different fields hidden or continue to expose new fields based on answers that are happening. So I am going to start creating my event. I'm going to give it a name, type. Part of this customization is a number of different things that happen in the background as you're creating your event. So you'll see when I save that this kicks off a number of different processes, which I'll go through. And all of this data can be used for further customization. So you have the ability to send these events to websites, to Outlook, Google, etc. Here, for example, I have my location that I'm going to select. You can see that I have no resources set, but I know that if someone selects the student ballroom, I'm always going to need an AV tech and a sound system. So my system is just going to automatically add those to the event. The end user does not need to know that they need to include those. One more. And then down here, I have event information or custom attributes. So these are additional fields that I want to track based on the event as it's been created thus far. So if I've got third-party integration that I want to include on this event, for example, if you've got social tables for diagramming, you can include the URL. I'm asking if alcohol will be served. If I say no, nothing happens. If I say yes, it is going to ask me if I have insurance on file. If I say no, it's going to tell me that something additional is going to happen. But if I say yes, nothing else happens. And then I can have pick lists, again, with other things being asked as that's going. So you can have these fields be dynamic and customized based on that scheduling experience. All right, so once I save this event, again, multiple different things can happen based on the way that I have configured my environment. So if I'm sending automated emails, those are being triggered. If I have workflow set up, that's being triggered. So here I can see on the task list, I am automatically notifying a number of different people. So because AV sound system and technician were selected, I'm going to notify media services. Because they said that, yes, they're having alcohol, I need to notify the campus police. So I've got that automatic notification going to those people. All of those are triggering on the back end. I've also got pricing set up in my environment. So that is being generated dynamically based on all of this event criteria. CollegeNet is the one who's having the event. They're a for-profit rate group, so they're getting charged one specific type of fee. And now that I have all of this information on my event, I can do some further customized actions. So from here, I can go and print a report. And this can be anything from an event confirmation to an invoice or quote or event contract. And you can have as many of these as you need. They can all be customized in the UI by you. So if you've got multiple different scheduling departments and each one has its own logo or its own disclaimer text or information that you want to include on that report, you can have all of those available to you. So here's one that I created for today. I've got my custom logo and coloring, and I'm choosing exactly what information I want to include from the event on this report. Because I'm charging, I'm including the grand total, and I've said that I want my deposit to equal 20% of that total. And then I've got some custom text and signature lines. So that's one way that you can have the experience customized after you have created the event. The other is via event emails. As I mentioned, these can be sent automatically based on a number of different criteria on the event, but you can also send them manually. If you have specific text or type of information that you are always including on these events, you can have what we call event templates, which allows you to select the template that you've already pre-formatted and include not only your default text, but also event specific criteria. So I've got that here. I can include any of those custom reports or documents that I've created and send that email manually. And then once you have all of your events in the database, you can do a few different things, primarily take those events and publish them on calendars on your website. This is all part of 25 Live functionality. You have the ability to customize these calendars to have them match the look and feel of your website. But this is all data coming right from 25 Live. You get to determine which events should go to calendars, but also of all of that information that you added on the event, which of it should go to the events on the calendar. So here I can see an example, George Mason's College of Visual and Performing Arts. They've got calendars pulling information right from 25 Live. And then right in your backyard, Mount St. Mary's University has same concept, different calendar look. But again, this is pulling all of the information right from 25 Live. And then finally, you have the ability to take those event forms that I just showed and place them anywhere on your school's website. And because you can customize those forms, you can have very specific forms based on your use cases. So for example, maybe people outside of your campus community are allowed to create inquiries for events or space use. Rather than having that data exist in a separate system that you then have to do double entry into 25 Live, you can customize these forms for this very specific use case. So in this example, it's for vehicle rentals. I'm gonna start creating one. But again, this looks very different from the form that was in 25 Live because I've customized it specifically for this use case. I'm gonna give it a day and time. I don't allow any extra dates or any additional information. I'm only giving them 4 objects to select. And then because they are not in the database, I don't know who they are, I'm asking for that information. Again, these custom questions, I'm making them agree to some policies before they can save. But once that person has saved that information, of course, they don't know that 25 Live exists, what it is. None of that matters for purposes of this form. But if you are the one who is processing those events, you can come in right to 25 Live and see that event and continue working on it from here. So you don't need to go in and recreate that event based on your scheduling system or processes. We've already got all of the initial event structure right here ready for you to continue working on. And then if you have automated emails set up, those are going to automatically trigger. And because I collected that person's email address, I am able to send them an automated email. And of course, you can have your schedulers receive those emails as well. So that is all I was planning on covering today. Again, just a very quick overview. If you are already using Series 25 and you have questions about any of this functionality, please feel free to reach out to me and we can go over it in any more detail.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. For sharing that great bit of insight there. I think we're all a little bit inspired to see what our forums could do now, even if we're not using 25 Live. At this point, I want to welcome in another colleague, Ellie Fergon, who is the Director of Events at Cal State Bakersfield. Ellie's going to share how her team at Bakersfield is specifically using 25 Live. With that, Ellie, please take it away.
Hi, thank you everyone, and thanks Sam, and additional thanks to Shayna. Even I learned a lot. I took some notes on things that I am going to bug you about very soon. So I'm going to just share my screen here and show you guys a little bit about how we use 25 Live. So again, as Sam said, my name is Ellie Fergon. I'm the Director of Events at CSUB. I've been here about 9 years, and we started the implementation and integration of 25 Live right before I began at CSUB. So I was dumped right into it, which was a blessing in disguise. Took them about a year, 6 months to a year to get everything implemented and integrated on campus. And we were lucky enough to have a campus-wide introduction of the system. That included UPD, ITS, academic scheduling, like Shayna was talking about, and what you're all here for, events. Just like most things, the first year is definitely the hardest. We got a lot of feedback on changing the way it was with events, with academics. We had to navigate workarounds on campus, and we were constantly providing trainings with minimal staff, which proved to be effective, but a lot of work that we put in very early on. We did have a strong ITS team that went through all the ins and outs. And that's very important as you're integrating any large system like this, that having that team to back you is really important. We created an Office of Events, which I'm still here and proof that it is working. And CollegeNet customer service and 25 Live has been and continues to be very helpful. We don't always get that with all the platforms and systems that we use. So CollegeNet has been extremely helpful since I've been here. And we began the question for using the system for us fully, and that included billing. So I'm going to go through the request process, schedulers and securities, locations, resources and approvals, and billing, and a little bit more in depth of how we use it at CSUB. So the request process, very similar to how Shayna was showing us, and I really appreciated that, because the biggest thing about how we use it is customized for us, and that's really unique to systems. We have a lot of requirements that Shayna was taking you through that we have to receive in the initial request for any event space. So faculty, staff, and students can use the system. They're required to use their NetID and password, just like they log on to all other CSUB programs. We build in campus organizations and departments into the system. We also have external groups that we enter in for them. So we're a little bit unique in that regard, how Shayna was talking about. We receive the external request separately, and then we enter it in once it's approved in 25 Live. We do have a requirement for 2 weeks in advance. We have a couple workarounds that we do allow for if someone needs an event or a meeting space the next week. We can work around that as long as all campus resources are accessible and there's not anything that's not available to reserve. The draft state is the first state that we require a request to be entered into. You do have the possibility to enter things in a different later state, but because we have a limited amount of spaces on campus, the draft state gives schedulers about 24 hours to review that request, make sure they have all the information that's needed, and then continue processing, eventually getting it on the calendar and moving forward with a confirmed event. All events and activities outside of just a conference room meeting must be requested into 25 Live, and that's really streamlined the process for us at CSUB, including all other requests on campus, even if it's just a meeting that includes parking. Schedulers and securities, we identify securities based on location, and that includes schedulers, default schedulers, as well as backup schedulers to all of those locations. We don't have a centralized events office, but my team in the Office of Events, there's 3 of us. We kind of are the ghost event team on campus that manages 25 Live, keeps it running, and really kind of directs folks to where they need to go when it includes 25 Live and larger events. So each scheduler approves their location. They receive an immediate email after a draft request has been made. And like I said, they have about 24 hours, give or take, to get that handled. And listed here are the different groups that we've identified on campus. And they mostly center around a building or a business unit. For example, campus programming is in student-led and SPA and ASI business units. However, the Office of Events, we're foundation. So they're separated by business unit on campus and by location. As I mentioned, the tech administrator through IT, it's been a really big part of our campus use to divide by tech and by functionality. So on the back end, they really talk to CollegeNet a lot. They handle those top securities. It's a one-man show. So she actually is very good at what she does, but this isn't her only job. So we've divided those tasks by kind of functionality, and that we handle in our office, in the Office of Events, and then the real technical side that she handles. We manage all of those resources, those pricing edits, those organization edits, usually annually, but we can do them throughout the year if necessary. And then locations and resources. Locations and resources are approved by the facility schedulers, and the resource providers. So it's really important that we keep up our inventory, our location features, so that when anybody goes into 25 Live, they get exactly what they need. They find the location that best suits them, and they can request any resources and have everything approved within that event and within 25 Live. We realize if we're requiring this for all requesters, so that means all campus organizations, all faculty and staff, and students, that it has to be an all-inclusive process. So we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that everything is there for them and for us as schedulers and event planners. We do have to have the location. That's a required step, a location, date, and time. Resources and approvals can get added later, but those initial requests have to be made upon their draft request. We then move things into the tentative state, the event, not things, into the tentative state, and eventually the confirmed state. Before it gets to that confirmed state, we do require that any resources are assigned, any approvals are confirmed. Nothing can be in that gray area like you see in the clip there. The grounds from facilities management and utilities are approved, but what's grayed out is custodial and the dumpster. So that means that the scheduler or the requester needs to follow up on those requests and make sure that everybody's understanding the needs for that event. We also, as Shayna was mentioning, have specific room layouts or customizations that you can make. For this specific room, there's 4 different setups. The student or the faculty or staff member can look at that and say, perfect, all I need is lecture. The scheduler knows, okay, we'll set up the chairs that you've requested, done. There can be more details provided, and that's further conversation or further work requests. Like I mentioned, approvals, it's very similar to the process of resources. However, this is almost that final step that we make. Schedulers are the ones that can only add the approvals. So it's important for us that we know exactly what's required for not only our space, but also for that event and the specific details. Approvals are required, as I said, before they move to the confirmed state. So as you can see here, they're checked or not checked. It states clearly in progress. You know exactly who to look out for and who to contact when you see something still pending. And then billing. So billing is something that we did take about a year to figure out. It was a lengthy process, but we were able to create a report that was specific to our billing process, with how our accounting team, how our IT team could pull that for us, and how we as the functional administrators could manage all of these events. I understand that this is probably the most unique part of this puzzle, and every campus is going to be very different, but this works for us, and we're really grateful that we can keep this going. And people then realize how important 25 Live is to use from start to finish. We do have a lot of specifics. The event state has to be in a sealed state. We have to have what we call a custom attribute of a billing date, which is there, that matches up with our billing schedule. Schedulers understand this billing schedule, and we keep up on them all year long. We also have a manually entered task that's required to be completed. This is authorizing by the correct authorized signer for the account codes that are entered. This may be similar or very different from your campus, but we have 4 account numbers that are required: the business unit, fund, department, and account. And then pricing. Obviously, there needs to be a cost associated with those resources and the event. That way it can all get billed to the right credit account or debit account and credited to the right business accounts. The billing report we pull about twice a month, and we update pricing once a year, or if something major happens and we are required to go in and change that. So I talked fast because I know that Shayna was touching on a lot of things that I think would probably bring up some questions. I'm just really a case study here. I'm more than happy to answer any questions of how we use it, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope I can be of support to someone out there today.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellie. That was fantastic. It's nice to see, you know, a more focused kind of application of the tool. So I think that's super helpful. I want to give my thanks to you, Ellie, and to all of our presenters today for really sharing a lot of really good insight with the group. We are now at the fun part where we can have some Q&A. So to help us with that, up on our the screen here, we have a QR code again to the Mentimeter poll that Adrian has been dropping into the chat there for us to collect questions. And this is also the opportunity for you to raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead and call on you and unmute you to be able to ask your questions live to any of our presenters, whether it's shopping for event management tools or 25 Live at the bigger, broader sense for Shayna, or how Ellie's using it. This is the space for that right now. One thought I had, Ellie, as you were working, that just came to my mind, as you guys were rolling out the tool at Bakersfield, you mentioned a lot of trainings with a limited staff. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys were able to, with the few folks that you had on the project, kind of communicate the change across campus?
Sure. Yeah. So we did have a campus trainer, which was really helpful. So she was brought in right before I started. So she had created modules for each part of 25 Live and how we were requiring campus users to use the system. So that really helped. She did, I believe, a monthly training going through those, and then they were accessible online as well. When my office kind of took over later that year, we would do an open lab. So we would just say, hey, come on over. We'll be here half the day, the whole day. And just be working, you know, in the rooms that we had available to us. And people would come in and we would sit down one-on-one, providing those trainings. And that really gave people just the support that they needed. And it was once a month. So we could be out there all day to answer any questions. And we're always available at this point now. You know, we've had it on campus for 9 years. So as new staff come in, new student groups come in, we really put our focus and attention on the schedulers. We give them the power to do those trainings, to walk through the steps and answer any questions, so that it's not our one job, because as you all know, we have many. So yeah, we're really empowering those schedulers across campus to be the ones providing the constant training that we require.
Awesome. I love that. I love the kind of treeing it out, farming it out to some other folks that are also power users on campus. So we are getting a few questions into the Mentimeter. I'm going to pull that up right now and put that in full screen so we can all see it. I think this one's at you, Jessica. Someone wanted some clarification for Cvent in terms of whether there's a registrant or for free event fee. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so from my conversation with Steven, it is per registration, not per transaction. So for free events, you would still be processing a registration fee.
And that was the one that was $5, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a bit of a steep fee in my opinion, but okay. Awesome. Alrighty. All right. Someone's asking how our day is, so it's going pretty nice. I'm guessing smiles all around. All right. Awesome. Let's see, a 25 live question. It looks like a cool, folks are wondering if it's good for registration websites. It seems that it's very scheduling heavy. Ellie,
I can touch on this a little bit, and maybe Shanna's a little better to answer it, but we don't use it for registration at all. We do use Almabase, and we have for the last 2 years, and that's worked great for our campus for paid events and free events. It's very schedule heavy, and that's what we love about it. That's what really allows us to get, you know, A through Z completed, regardless of if it's a free event, paid event, but we can start and finish that way. We were finding though that there was the registration aspect that was missing. And so we did similar to what Jessica was talking about on our campus in 2019, and that gave us Almabase today.
Awesome, thank you, Ellie. Shayna, I'm not sure if there's anything else to add on there.
Ellie touched on pretty much the heart of it. We do have registration functionality that we have available now in a very limited capacity, and it will be further developed, but as it exists now, it's not intended to be for fee-based registration, because as Jessica mentioned, there's a lot of schools that have very specific payment gateways that they can use, and trying to make something that's available for everyone and all of the different gateways is a little bit of a hurdle for us.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
One thing I do within my 25 live on campus is I will put all the information, and in the description I link it to whatever registration page we have. That's kind of the workaround we do right now on our campus.
Okay. And then so it'd be the scheduling form that's internal, and then it's linked to the registration form for anybody to share out.
Yeah, we usually, for right now, we're 25 live, we use more for calendar announcements and such, so someone can click on that date if it has the event and read more about the event, and then we add a registration link into the description that will take them to a third party again.
Got it. Okay, awesome. All right, that's a good workaround. Let's see, do we have anything else? All right, how does an existing 25 live user get access to customized support? Is it a fee based, or is it based on campus, or rather based on their current subscription? I think Shayna might be the best one for that question.
So all of the functionality that I showed is part of anyone who has 25 live, that's part of your existing license. You wouldn't have to pay any additional fees to use it. The only time fees would be incurred is if you had CollegeNet do specific training or consulting on that. But if you're an existing customer, reach out to me, because we have a knowledge base with tons of wikis that go step by step through all this functionality. I'm happy to set up a call to walk through any of it. And then we also have monthly webinars there's no fee for those. And each webinar focuses on a very specific piece of functionality. So for example, we recently had one about like that custom document that I showed that walked through the entire process of how start to finish, how to create one. So there are plenty of resources available, and I am happy to point you in the right direction.
Awesome. I think that's what that question was getting at. Ellie, I think in a previous conversation you mentioned a conference that maybe CollegeNet as a whole put on.
Yeah, that was actually my first real jump into it after a year of just kind of fumbling through I was able to go to a CollegeNet user conference in Portland, Oregon. And not only as part of my heart in the Pacific Northwest, but it was very, very informative. And I left feeling like, you know, we can do more. We have such close access to this customer service and this knowledge base. It was really great to go also, you know, as events heavy, but also with our academic scheduler, with our tech administrator. So I think if you have that capability on your campus, whether you're just getting into it or halfway through the, you know, implementation, or just wanting to add or see what else is out there, it's a really great opportunity. I've never been disappointed with the conference. I've gone, I believe, 3 times. I've missed the last 2 years, obviously, because it's been virtual, or I missed last summer completely, but I think 2021 summer was virtual. So we do plan to try to go this summer again. It typically takes place in July, I want to say, and it's jam-packed with sessions that are very helpful.
Awesome. All right, thanks for sharing. I got that one answered. Let's see here. Is there a limit on the number of users in it on campus that can use 25 Live? I'm thinking that might be tied to somebody's license for the.
There's not. If you license it on your campus, it is for your entire campus. So that includes as many locations, resources, organizations, contacts, users that you need to have.
Awesome.
I will add in there that as we've never had an issue with, you know, users or adding resources, but we do always try to make it a point to not add too much, to really make sure, okay, is this resource that we're adding, or this group of resources, taking over from another set? Do those need to become inactive now? Is the list of approvals just too heavy? Is it confusing schedulers or confusing requesters, even with the amount of resources? So we try to be really conscious of what is the user experience. We can go through and say, yeah, I'm just starring these 10 things because it's what I use. Well, if you just open it up, you don't see just those 10, you see hundreds if that's what you have available. So not just the user limit, but what you can add to it. I don't know if there's a limit to, but just having that understanding that this can be real stressful for someone to pop in and then just keep scrolling through a list of resources that they may not know about. So that's something to keep in mind. And same goes for, you know, locations, organizations, anything that you have drop down menus like Shayna was showing. That's what we try to always think about.
Awesome. That's a great tip, because you again, user experience, and too many things on there and it just gets clunky, and it's hard to update it and keep that current too. So let's see what the next question is. Shayna mentioned that 25 Live works with third vendor seating apps. Is it limited to social tables, or does it also work with all seating or other seating apps? Any clarity in that space?
So that example, it was not for integration per se. It was just one example of how you could take information from a third-party source and put it in 25 Live. So in that example, it would be just like taking a URL from social tables and putting it in. So that would work with any third party that had, you know, a direct link to that specific diagram or whatever else it happened to be, or like Jessica mentioned, how they put their registration URL. I think she said they do it in the description, but if you did it in a custom attribute, that would be another way to get that data entered into 25 Live for your records.
Awesome. Okay. All right, let's see what the next question. Any update on what the conference looks like, what the format of this is this next year?
So we did it virtually the last 3 years. The intention is to do it in person this summer. It's actually, as you know, setting this up, it's harder to do it virtually than it is even in person, I think. So the intention is to do it in person, but now that we've done virtual and has allowed way more people to attend than what can happen on site, I think some aspect of it will still be virtual. But the intention is definitely to have it in Portland this summer.
All right, so start looking at flights if you're thinking of going. Awesome. Between Cvent, Almabase, and Hivebrite, which are you leaning towards? I guess that one's at Jessica. Did any of them kind of score really well on all three of the lists that you put together for your team?
My team and I were kind of looking at both at Hivebrite and Almabase. Hivebrite offers a little bit more. Like I said, they have different tabs that you can, include or not include. Almabase is really focused on just the kind of different events. So those are the two that are winning my hearts right now in the team. But yeah, we haven't made our final decision quite yet.
Awesome. All right, thanks for the update. Next question, is there a database or a list of various event management apps that the CSUs are using? Nothing comprehensive in my understanding of what everyone is currently using, just the research document where we looked at a couple and we kind of organized what our pros and cons were for them. That might be a nice project for the CSUEPN Executive Council to pick up. Right. I'll mark that one. I'll come back to that one. That's a good idea that we'll pick up shortly. Let's see, what platforms does 25 Live sync with for event management? I think we probably touched that one earlier. It's just a matter of you could just drop in a link to whatever your registration form is in the scheduling item on 25 Live.
Yeah, and I will just add a little kind of asterisk to that. Event management sometimes means a lot of different things. So if you're talking about registration, there are a few systems that we integrate with. If you're talking about like actually managing events, like the entire event process, there are separate systems that we integrate with too. But I can always send a list to whoever's specifically asking.
Super. Yeah, I think that list would be helpful for the deeper integrations. Awesome. Let me see. I think this one's at Ellie. Biggest challenge to overcome with the conversion to 25 Live?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, as most people will say, tends to be with any conversion is we've always done it a certain way. Why are you making me do this? Because there's a level of fear in that. You don't know what the system is going to be. You can do your old process with your eyes closed. But what our goal was as we jumped into this was not just saving paper and saving steps and getting one paper that needs to be signed by 4 people across campus, is just more things were happening. And everything was, something would get lost along the way every time. So that getting that across to people that just planned their 2 events a year, where they didn't realize everybody else was doing the same thing plus some. Once we got that, where we could pull a report and saying, look, campus, we plan X number of events a year. We use this many resources a year. It not only allowed them to get more support, support the university more, but I think they looked at the whole picture, the whole campus as a one big picture versus just their small department, their small team doing 1 or 2 events. So I think that the other big thing, and this is what made billing switch over very smoothly, was people were not getting paid. So once we proved to them, hey, give us a semester, we're going to do the billing this way, and you're going to start getting paid, it was like flipping a switch. I was sat down just for a quick share with a group of, the AVPs of facilities and IT and police department, and they were giving me thousands of dollars of events that were not paid the previous year. And these are just resources, $20 here, $100 there. So you know, I had a lot to prove to them that, you know, trust, have faith in the system that we've used for about, you know, 6 years at that point. And so that really helped in getting the big dogs on campus to support you, because that's kind of how the wheels keep turning. But those conversions were difficult, and so we definitely had to have some tough conversations. But I think the one thing was having the provost at the time behind us, and then getting those large departments converted first.
Awesome. And I love the focus on the value add. It's, you know, we'll end up paying people more quickly. We'll cut down on you having to walk around campus to track down hard signatures. So I think those are good points to keep in mind with any change. All right, let's see. We have a couple questions. We'll try our best to get through all of them. But I think our presenters signed up to potentially do a follow-up. I think via email to any that we don't get a chance to get to. Let's see, we have our 25 Live admin on our campus, but they are on the academic side of the house. And 25 Live have more than one administrator/expert.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. We have an admin expert. Our team is the events expert. We have the tech expert. And like Shayna was saying, we really rely on CollegeNet and that knowledge base expert, because there's always something that we have a question about. And I think it's best to really spread that out and build a team of support. I don't know half of what the academic folks know about their scheduling, and I don't need to, because I'm on this side of the house. So I think spreading it out and getting those experts is great idea.
And then they just kind of focus on classrooms, instruction spaces, and then you're kind of the ballrooms, the big meeting areas. Okay, and you know that makes sense too, to break up the kind of the area of expertise of what the different units are working on. Alrighty, let's see here. Oh, look at that! I think. Oops, looks like I think we cleared our Q&A. I'll go ahead and just put up the instructions here in case anybody has any final thoughts. I also want to invite anybody, last chance, this is your time to electronically raise your hand, and we'll just ask you to come off mute and you can ask your questions live to any of our presenters here. Alrighty, and I'll just double check to see if we have anything. Oh, well, thank you guys so much. I think that was an excellent Q&A, and we really were able to add in a lot of extra details to the presentations that you guys provided. Before I let everybody go, though, I do have one final thing. We're really curious to see what the audience is what your timeline is in terms of picking a new event management platform if you're in the market for one. And we're going to ask the question because this is going to influence the timing of the next time that the on-call committee picks up this topic. We want to make sure that we're bringing forth topics and content that's helpful and timely to our work. So if it's something that's coming up quickly, we want to make sure that that is indeed something that's helpful to everybody. So right now on your Zoom, there should be a short one-question survey poll that popped up. Please take a moment to provide your response. I'll leave it up there for another minute or so, and this will really help us, like I said, figure out the timing of the next time that we visit this topic. Alrighty. Looks like we're leveling off there, so I'll just go ahead and share the poll. And it looks like folks are just kind of perpetually in the market for a new event management solution, which we probably should be as events professionals. And there's a few folks that are looking to make a decision in the next 3 to 4 months, so that's helpful. Alrighty, and awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. There we go. Now I can share the results. So like I said, most folks look like they're perpetually in the market for one. Alrighty, well, thank you all so much. As a reminder, today's recording will be shared on the CSUEPN YouTube channel, and then it's also going to be emailed out to all the registrants in an email and our listserv. As a reminder, the next on-call that we have already on the books is February 9th, where we'll be talking about event risk, safety, and protocols. And if you're curious to see what previous topics we've picked up on call, or you want to revisit the recording and the slide decks from today in a couple of days, please go to the CSUEPN intranet, calstate.edu/CSUEPN. And then while you're there, sign up for our listserv if you haven't already. And with that, thank you all so much for logging on today. Another big thanks to our presenters. And I just wish you guys a super day and all the best luck in your very important work for the university. Thanks, guys.